Okay, so this is the Stronghold Digital Mining Daily Update. Today's Thursday, October 26, 2023. It's just past 8 o'clock in the evening. Absolutely beautiful day here in eastern Pennsylvania. So I did spend a little bit extra time outside, but I want to dive right into some numbers. What are we worth? What is Stronghold Digital Mining worth? And why don't we take a really aggressive, almost like nightmarish approach to doing that math, okay? To really kind of get to the bottom of things. All right, so let's first start by looking at our energy producing operations, right? Got 165 megawatts, about 85 megawatts at Scrubgrass, which is a waste coal reclamation facility in western Pennsylvania, which can produce about 85 megawatts of nameplate capacity of electricity. Here in eastern Pennsylvania, Panther Creek, another waste coal reclamation facility, nameplate capacity of about 80 megawatts. So altogether, 165 megawatts. What's that worth? So if we were selling a house, right, and we called up a realtor might say something along the lines of, hey, let me run some comps and let me get back to you with a number. Okay. Needless to say, right, there's not this vibrant marketplace of power assets constantly changing hands within the PJM neighborhood, right, which is the neighborhood in which both Scrubgrass and Panther Creek reside. And PJM, of course, is a reference to the grid, right, that both facilities are a part of. However, back in 2016, a transaction took place. To keep it simple, PP&L, which I guess used to be known as Pennsylvania Power and Light, decided to spin off their energy producing assets, their power generating assets, right? And they called that new entity Talon Energy. Subsequently, Talon Energy was fully acquired by a private equity firm. Now, when I look at my notes, because I did this research about a year ago or so, when I look at my notes here, basically in 2016, a price per megawatt of electricity generation capacity. So think about it this way, like, hey, what kind of price per megawatt can we apply to Stronghold Digital Mining's power generation assets based on that transaction in 2016? So based on that transaction, it was $325,000 per megawatt. Okay, this is in 2016. And that was within the PJM grid, right? So this is kind of like in our neighborhood. So I think this is a very relevant comp, so to speak, okay? So based on that, Stronghold Digital Mining arguably has about $53,625,000 worth of megawatts of electrical generation capacity. And you get to that number by multiplying the 165 megawatts that Stronghold Digital Mining has, right? Scrubgrass, Panther Creek, 85 plus 80, right? Multiply the 165 by the $325,000 amount, which essentially is what the Talon Energy acquisition was priced at. Furthermore, okay, if we were to then put that $53.6 million into an inflation calculator to figure out, hey, so that's 2016 dollars. Here this calculator goes up as far as 2022. That would actually be about $66 million. Now, there's an argument to be made that that might be a very harsh valuation, right? That the valuation in reality might be a bit higher than that today for a variety of reasons. But you know what? Let's just leave that aside. Let's go with the harshest valuation that we can, right? Let's call it 325, I believe, right? I think that's what we computed, 325, and let's go with 325, and then let's just go with the inflation adjusted amount of $66 million. So we can safely probably say, hey, if we were to attempt to sell both Scrubgrass and Panther Creek using this comparable, we could probably get about $66 million for those assets. I know there are a couple of you out there that are like, dude, that's crazy. That's really, really cheap given the fact there are data centers there now. There's all this other stuff. I get you. But let's just kind of break it down. All right, so let's just assume, right, worst case scenario, hey, 66 million for the energy assets. And that's based on like an actual transaction that took place in our neighborhood in 2016. This isn't just some invented number. So I think there's a basis in reality for that estimate. Okay. Both Scrubgrass and Panther Creek have data centers on site. Okay. Those data centers have Bitcoin mining machines. Stronghold Digital Mining has about, 4 exahash? At least I think we have about 4 exahash worth of Bitcoin mining equipment. As to whether or not 100% of that's deployed at the moment is a separate question. But it seems pretty darn clear that we have 4 exahash, or say 4 million terahashes of Bitcoin mining machines. Okay, we're not talking about data centers at the moment. Just leave those aside, just in terms of the Bitcoin mining machines. Okay, 4 million terahashes. We own about 80% of those, right? The other 20%, they're there as part of win-win hosting plus agreements, right? With Foundry and Canaan. And an argument could be made that, Frontier Mining probably has some sort of operation as Scrubgrass. I alluded to that in a very detailed thread on X. But let's just leave that aside. Foundry and Canaan, about 20% of Stronghold Digital Mining's total Bitcoin mining machine capacity is really theirs, and we just have this, win-win hosting plus arrangement with them. So what's 80% of 4? That's about 3.2. So of the 3,200,000, pardon me as I take a sip of water here, of the 3,200,000 terahashes that are owned by Stronghold Digital Mining, what kind of valuation can we place on that? So I asked ChatGPT to kind of come up with like a bare bones, like, hey, don't make this, a really nice number. Make it the sort of like the ugliest number you could come up with, so to speak. And after a lot of back and forth, it came up with about $15. All right, my attitude is, hey, we could take that as face value, or we could even chop it down even lower. Say, call it $10 a terahash. All right. But, again, ChatGPT came up with about 15. I'm not ChatGPT. But even if we were to say, hey, bare bones, $10 a terahash, okay, evaluation for these, right, 3.2 million terahashes of Bitcoin mining machines that we own and we control, that would be about $32 million, right? 10 multiplied by 3.2 million. If we were to go with what ChatGPT came up with, which is a slightly higher amount, right? It's 15 times 3,200,000. I'm not very good at math on camera in my head. It's about 48 million. Do you want to split the difference on that? If we were to then add the 32 million and then divide that number by 2, get 40 million. Okay, so let's just call it 40 million in bare bones valuation for our Bitcoin mining machines. Okay. I believe as of probably right around now, we have about, if we want to really be harsh about this, we could just call it 50 million. Let's just say about 50 million of debt that's still outstanding with Whitehawk, right? That's our real principal debt piece at this point. So that's another number to take into the equation here, right? To take into consideration. So I think we said 66 million for the energy assets, about 40 million for the Bitcoin mining machines by themselves. Then we subtract about 50 million in debt that we owe Whitehawk, and you come up with a number that still doesn't include the data center equipment. And by equipment, I mean the transformers, the data centers themselves, right, of 56 million, right? Now, if you were to add in, like, hey, how much are these data centers worth, right? What's the cost to replicate these data centers? I think a very compelling argument could be made that it's a number that's above $0, right? I mean, transformers alone, my understanding is there's like a multi-year lead time for some of this equipment. So I think there's a value in being able to say, hey, we've got this equipment right here, right now. I think there's a value, right, to saying, hey, if you don't want this stuff shipped anywhere else, you want to just kind of have it here in place, right? Here it is. Want to call it 10 million? Just for the sake of the conversation we're having. So in other words, all of the actual data center infrastructure, the in-house software that's able to toggle between saying, hey, we want to sell electricity to the grid or route it to these data centers, right, that house Bitcoin mining machines. If you add 10 million to 56 million, you're up to $66 million. Okay. Remember, that includes subtracting 50 million in debt. Again, these are, an argument could be made that these are very, very nightmarishly low numbers. When we take a look at the Zyner.com homemade Stronghold Digital Mining shareholder dashboard, and we look at our market cap today based on our closing numbers, this is a fully diluted market cap. It's computed using the same math that Stronghold Digital Mining uses to compute its market cap in the investor presentations. And this is based on the numbers that were released last quarter. We're going to be getting updated numbers now for Q3 sometime probably in early to mid-November when we have that investor presentation, and I'll certainly update the dashboard mathematics to reflect share count, stuff like that. But we're trading at $65.2 million today. So one can make, I think, a very compelling argument that even if you were to take the most nightmarish, the most gruesome valuation possible, that may not really reflect reality, but let's just take it anyway. That's kind of what we're trading at right now. And I'm saying this because we're going to be focusing a lot more going forward here on our valuation. Not so much the stock price, although that's critical, and that's going to be a big part of our conversation as well. But I think it's useful to just start with a basic sort of like understanding of like, what's this company worth? So if we were to take an arguably really unfair, really harsh, really almost like a draconian valuation, okay? And I walked you through it. And this includes the debt that we have, the big principal piece of debt that we've got. We're pretty much at that valuation right now. Buddy of mine asked me, hey, should I be buying more shares of Stronghold Digital Mining? My immediate response was, I'm not a licensed financial advisor. I love you to death. I wouldn't want to steer you, wrong here. So this is not investment advice. And then I walked my buddy through what I just walked you through. And I said, well, you tell me. And I mean, as we kind of went through these numbers, my buddy, who's pretty knowledgeable about a lot of things, he's like, yeah, well, it kind of sounds like somewhat of an unfair valuation, really. And I'm like, okay, I hear you, but hey, let's assume that's the case. Well, that's what we're trading at. That's like our market cap as of right now, based on the way in which the dashboard is computing the market cap, which in turn is based on the way in which, from a fully diluted basis, Stronghold Digital Mining itself within the investor presentation, right, our Q2 2023 investor presentation, that's how our market cap was being computed then. So, I think it's fair to say that right now we're trading pretty much at rock bottom, right? If the market were to give us a gift, of suddenly a market cap, a fully diluted market cap of 50 million, of 40 million, I mean, 30 million, fully diluted now. So it's going to look a little different on, Google Finance, Yahoo Finance. I'm talking fully diluted here. To me, it seems like a screaming buy absent us finding out additional information that would change the equation. But hey, 66 million just for the power assets? That sounds really, really cheap. Okay. 40 million just for the 3.2 million terahashes of Bitcoin mining equipment that we, meaning Stronghold Digital Mining, owns and operates itself. Sounds kind of cheap. Assigning a value of just $10 million to all of the data center equipment that we have, the transformers, the software, everything that we have in place, right? Not even to mention the synergies that exist with having this as a turnkey operation. I mean, somebody writes a check, say, hey, I want to just buy the whole thing, right? Pay off the debt, right? So this includes the debt. I mean, this is like turnkey. This is ready to go. This isn't like, okay, great, I got some power assets. Now I need to try to figure out how to build a data center. Then I got to try to figure out how to get all these Bitcoin mining machines, right? All that process has already been done. What you really got here is something that's ready to go, that's actually going. It's not even hypothetical ready to go. It's like it's going. It's doing what it does, right? These facilities are fully staffed. It's not, right? You're not building something from scratch. So again, using a draconian valuation metric to say, all right, hey, $10 million for all of the transformers, all of the data centers, right? Say 40 million for all of the Bitcoin mining machines that we own ourselves. Forget about the 20% of, our total capacity that's part of these win-win hosting plus arrangements that generate revenue. Like, pretend that they don't even exist. Okay. You're going to value the business at 66 million, right? When you subtract out the debt, say 50 million in debt. I think this is it. I think this valuation right now is very, very compelling. So let me know what you think. Again, do the math. Hey, if you're going to respond in comments, show me your math, okay? Don't just be like, hey, no, man, whatever. Like, the company's worth nothing. Okay, show me the math. I've shown you a comparable as it relates to the energy assets based on an acquisition that took place right here in the PJM neighborhood. I spoke to you about what ChatGPT, which is a very, very powerful tool, kind of came up with, and we split the difference, right? They were saying, hey, 15, I said 10, to make it even worse. Kind of split the difference in the middle. 50 million in debt. I mean, those are the numbers we're working with. And then I just assigned a $10 million valuation to all of the data center equipment itself. Not the machines, but just the data centers and the transformers and having it all plugged in and ready to go. I mean, there's a cost to that. It's not like you just buy a box that you could stick Bitcoin mining machines in and you just plop it down on a piece of earth and it magically just starts working, right? You got to have that all installed a certain way to get the right kind of electricity to it. And the fact that you could toggle, right, with Stronghold, you can toggle between the grid and these data centers. I mean, let's just call that free, so to speak. Listen, I don't know. I want to hear what you think. But to me, it seems as if though there's a logical, fact-based, numbers and math-based rationale for saying that even when applying a super draconian valuation, that's kind of where we're at right now. So what's the upside from here? And that's the question, right? But let me know what you think. My numbers were very draconian. Do you agree with that? What are your thoughts? I really am curious. Again, I understand in a market, there's going to be a lot of different viewpoints, but just please support whatever your viewpoint happens to be with some numbers. If you agree with me, that's great. Give it a thumbs up, or just say, yeah, man, I think you're onto something there. If you disagree and you think the valuation is dramatically lower, please support that with some evidence. Okay, Listen, let's stay positive, let's be great, and we'll see each other again tomorrow.